All right, people. If you've watched this channel for any length of time, you probably know that I'm not a big fan of Crystal Ball or The Rising or just anything in that ballpark. And there's a very good reason for that. And the reason for that is because I feel like Crystal Ball is aptly named for the ancient artifact that was cursed, that hexed her entire family, leaving her unable to engage in any political analysis besides bashing Democrats, you know? Look at the title of this fucking video. This just came out. Crystal Ball, will liberals ever admit how wrong they were about Trump? Look, I'll fucking go up to bat for liberals right now. Wrong about what, exactly? Wrong about what? We're literally in the midst of the Trump administration declaring that they refuse to accept the election result. Like, what are they wrong about right now? Like, what claim did they make about Trump that ended up not being accurate? Because we basically correctly guessed every single bad thing that he was going to do and even missed a few. I didn't expect the Trump administration would quietly ask the Supreme Court if they could get rid of gay marriage or get rid of gay men's right to adopt people. I didn't think he was going to do that, but hey, that's, you know, I'm always excited by his capacity to go beneath the bar I have set for him. Wait, what? Wait, you guys didn't know that? Yeah. You guys didn't know that? Hold on. Supreme Court, gay marriage, Trump administration. Yeah, I did a segment on this. Yeah. He also said he would seriously consider Supreme Court justice who would once again outlaw same-sex marriage. At one point, he actually asked the Supreme Court whether or not they could like quietly run back that decision. You can. I have videos on it. Whatever. Anyway, Crystal Ball, what were they wrong about?
What's on your radar?
Well, folks, not sure what happened here this past week, but I am sorely disappointed. I mean, I have been promised a fascist authoritarian coup directed by Vladimir Putin himself for 4 years now, and I'm getting a little impatient, waiting to see how it all goes down.
We are literally in the midst of the Trump administration filing lawsuits against Pennsylvania to disenfranchise the entire state. It is currently happening. She sounds exactly like Ben Shapiro. Remember the Ben Shapiro segment where he was like, well, to liberals, Donald Trump is the Antichrist, and they believe that as soon as Joe Biden wins, that he is going to instantly fix every problem. This is exactly the same horseshit. I'm sorry, Crystal Ball, how far exactly does the line need to go? Like, does the Trump administration need to start sending unmarked vans into fucking Philadelphia to start gunning down black people? Like, where exactly is the line? At which point you would be concerned. Do you need to be in the gas chamber for you to be like, well, I guess they were right to be concerned about Trump? Or would you be in there going like, you know, liberals said that Trump would put me in the gas chamber in their first term, not in the middle of his interim second term after he refused to concede the election. Like, what exactly is the line here?
In fact, I was told this election wouldn't even happen because Trump would cancel it or at least postpone it indefinitely.
He is currently doing the extent of the legal thing he can do, and he tried to postpone the election. He tried to do everything you're talking about. The only reason he wasn't able to is because of people who took the threat of Trump seriously, unlike dumb pieces of shit like you, who exist only to smugly cross your arms and make fun of liberals anytime they get any legitimately concerned estimation of Trump's behavior wrong. Or in this case, correct.
Told that an elaborate plot was being hatched with scary words like disinformation and misinformation and deep fakes to rob poor innocent Joe Biden of his rightful victory.
Deep fakes? What the fuck are you talking about? Deep fakes like Photoshop, like algorithmically generated image. What the fuck are you talking about? The disinformation thing is happening like right now. Most of the fucking Republican Party does not believe that Donald Trump legitimately lost the election.
I was informed in no uncertain terms that Attorney General Bill Barr had masterminded a devious plot to confiscate ballot boxes, or that Trump would force the FDA to inject all.
Bill Barr has literally just authorized the Department of Justice to start investigating fucking Twitter and YouTube viral video claims about illegitimate voter action. I'm gonna kill myself. I actually can't believe this bitch. This is insane to me. Are you actually like CIA? Like, no, the CIA probably doesn't like Trump that much because he's fucking incompetent and is going to destroy the country. Who the fuck are you? Who are you, Crystal Ball? You're not a fucking progressive. You're not a fucking leftist. Who the fuck are you? Like, unironically, what are these takes?
Democrats with toxic hydroxychloroquine or something. It's hard to see how this, a hastily arranged presser in the parking lot of Four Seasons Landscaping, fits into their evil genius plan.
Wait, so because the Trump administration is startlingly incompetent, that means they can't also try to orchestrate a coup? These are two completely unrelated points. The liberals said that Trump posed a threat to democracy, but would a threat to democracy really tweet Covfefe? I was told I should be afraid of this man, but then he tweeted Covfefe. And frankly, I think we just need to calm down a little bit.
Sure, Trump is launching legal challenges and refusing to concede, but even state
that this unprecedented anti-democratic rejection of the election process, oh yeah, sure, he's doing this thing, he's like, oh yeah, okay. He's also doing the thing that I just made fun of liberals for saying he was going to do.
Media outlet Fox News doesn't really seem to have their heart in the game.
We want every legal vote.
Wait, is she seriously going to say the fact that the Trump administration is too far gone for Fox News is a point in favor of the Trump administration? Like, because Fox News didn't want to air this press conference, that means the Trump administration is actually like the good guy?
To be counted, and we want every illegal vote.
I just think we have to be very clear. She's charging, the other side is welcoming fraud and welcoming illegal voting. Unless she has more details to back that up, I can't in good countenance continue showing you this. I want to make sure that maybe they do have something to back that up, but that's an explosive charge to make.
Yeah, we saw this last night, of course, because the press conference was literally nothing but the disinfo that Crystal Ball seems to be implying doesn't actually take place, or
the other side is effectively rigging and cheating. If she does bring proof of that, of course, we'll take you back. So far, she has started saying right at the outset, welcoming fraud, welcoming illegal voting. Not so fast.
One of the greatest lies of the Trump era was that this dude was remotely up to the task of being some Hitlerian figure. Now here we stand with every network, including Fox News, having called the race for Biden. And how has our orange Mussolini reacted?
First of all of the media organizations of the Weimar Republic stood against Adolf Hitler. For the fact that the media is united against him is not an indication that he's not a threat. The liberal administration, the liberal media outlets, the liberal pundits, the liberal comedians, the liberal commentators of the Weimar Republic laughed until they were shot. The fact that he is a joke does not mean he's not dangerous. The fact that he is incompetent does not mean that he is not dangerous. The fact that media organizations do not like him does not mean that he is not dangerous. He is the president of the United States of America. This persistent lie that Trump can't be dangerous because he's a fucking idiot is completely unsubstantiated. Hitler was a fucking idiot. Read any history book. Hitler was habitually incompetent, ignorant, self-absorbed, narcissistic, and ego-driven. Hitler was not some nefarious fucking mastermind. He was a methed out dipshit who was competent at public speaking. He was not some fucking evil overlord. Stupidity is not antithetical to a threat. This is an insanely disingenuous perspective from Crystal Ball. This actually sinks below any previous estimation that I have had of her. Like, we're in the midst of an unprecedented threat to our democracy, and she wants to mock liberals for correctly and accurately predicting this might happen.
By doing what he always does, saying a bunch of ridiculous crap, sending out a bunch of stupid tweets, and not a whole heck of a lot else.
That tens of millions of people believe in. He's the president of the United States. Is that Is she like on his fucking administration or something like that? He was joking. He's just tweeting to tens of millions of people. You know, when he holds presidential press conferences and announces that he's the victim of a coup, I mean, that doesn't really do anything.
It turns out that Matt Taibbi was exactly right when he wrote this. The words we see slapped on Trump most often, like fascist and authoritarian.
Matt Taibbi's another fucking clown, by the way, whose only interest is fucking shitting on the libs, okay?
Nowhere near describe what he really is, and I don't mean that as a compliment. It's been proven across 4 years that Trump lacks the attention span or ambition required to implement a truly dictatorial regime.
Again, once more, the lie that you have to be sharp and competent in order to be an authoritarian or a fascist. When did these people embrace this idea that fascism was intelligent? Is that something you believe, Crystal Ball? This guy can't be a fascist. He's not smart enough. What do you think exactly of fascism? What preconceptions are you bringing to the table here?
He might not have a moral problem with the idea, but 2 minutes into the plan, he'd leave the room, phone in hand, to throw on a robe and watch himself on Fox and Friends over a cheeseburger.
Trump can't be a fascist because they would do the fascist coup, but then he would go eat a burger and watch TV. You sound like the liberals you're making fun of right now. You sound every bit as stupid and aesthetics-driven as the liberals you're deigning to make fun of. Crystal Ball, you are significantly stupider and less useful to progressivism than the liberals that you make fun of. Massively so. I would take random fucking K-Hive goons over you, easily. At least they aren't so desperately driven to criticize other Democrats that they end up enabling fascism and fascist coups in the meantime.
There's no constitutional crisis coming with dueling sets of electors, let alone some military-backed coup in which Trump attempts to stay in the White House beyond.
What about best case scenario, a situation where a quarter of the population of the entire country legitimately believes they were robbed an election, and they believe that they're the victims of a coup through which only violence is capable of bringing them restitution? What about tens of millions of Americans carrying with them their entire fucking lives the belief that they have been cheated out of an election and that Donald Trump is the true president of the United States, and that any electoral results from that point forward forever, for the rest of their natural existence, is going to be illegitimate because it's a product of the same system that robbed them now? What about that? That's best case scenario. That's best case scenario. That's without any chance of institutional change. That's best case scenario. That's nothing? Okay. I guess it isn't for you, because you're already wealthy, have a grifty job with your right-wing cohorts, and you make PACs that you steal hundreds of thousands of dollars from as consulting fees. I guess you're comfortable enough for it not to not really affect you. I care about the people who watch me. I guess that's one of the critical differences between leftists and grifters.
On his term. The latest terrors gripping resistance liberals are rather revealing and frankly just how pathetic they are. We're supposed to be deeply concerned for the future of democracy because Trump fired the former Raytheon lobbyist who was running the Department of Defense. The horrors.
What if he fired the former Raytheon lobbyist in the Department of Defense so he could put somebody even worse on? Now, first of all, he put that person there. Second of all, what if he wanted to put somebody even more complicit on? This is, by the way, the same logic dipshits like this. She's so fucking smug. The same logic dipshits like this engage in when they're like, oh yeah, dude, you're a leftist, but you want the war criminal Joe Biden on. They don't actually give a fuck about analyzing the issue. They already have their conclusions. They already have their grift. They're just going to employ language in whatever way possible to either enunciate or dismiss the points that they think would help their political positions. So, for example, the fucking DOD guy being fired, being put on the DOD guy being fired, an even more vicious and cult-like crony being put on, and then being employed against claims of voter fraud, that's not a concern. Because the first guy who was on, who didn't approve of all of this, he was a former Raytheon lobbyist. You're not a real leftist if you think that there's anyone who's worse than a Raytheon lobbyist.
And he may fire the former George W. Bush admin guy who's running the FBI.
See, still doing it, by the way. She actually thinks there's no problem with a president denying the election results, firing a fucking FBI official, and putting a crony in. Oh, well, actually, the current FBI official is bad, so putting another person on, that would be good, right? You can get worse. You know that, right?
Outrageous. My favorite, though, is that all of their elaborate fascist coup plots have actually collapsed down to this. Some GSA Trump appointee is refusing to sign a letter acknowledging Biden's election. Inconceivable. What if they have to wait a week or two before they can decide in earnest whether they're giving Pete Buttigieg VA or UN ambassador?
What the fuck is she talking about right now? This is one of literally dozens of attempts. Literally dozens of attempts of trying to delegitimize the outcome here. She just chose this random one and then, putting Pete Buttigieg on. She doesn't, again, like, I'm sorry, I know I keep repeating myself because Crystal Ball is a legitimately infuriating person, but she is downplaying a fascist coup attempt in the interest of taking shots at establishment Democrats. That is how far the grift goes. It's not just her, by the way. The most recent episode of Chapo Trap House and all those fucking loser burnouts who haven't contributed shit to leftism since fucking April of this year, those motherfuckers did an entire episode about how Trump isn't actually a fascist. You'd think, I mean, this isn't surprising to me. Lefties like that have never had any constitutional ability to distinguish between liberalism and fascism, so to them it's just one, it's like them distinguishing between different shades of brown. This type of lefty, I don't even like saying lefty, by the way. I do think the Chapo boys are legitimate leftists, in spite of how fucking stupid they are. But the Crystal Ball cannot possibly be a fucking leftist. It's not conceivable to me. But in spite of them either being or not being leftists, they align perfectly with one another ideologically. They have absolutely no goals besides trashing the Democratic Party. Saying that Trump is bad, well, that would be falling in with the liberal narrative. If you say Trump is bad, you're saying what the liberals want you to say. Liberals think Orange Man bad, so you can't say Orange Man bad. I'm a leftist. Leftism is when you say Orange Man actually isn't bad, all capitalists are equally bad, and there's no way to distinguish between any of them because there's no such thing as a fascist-leaning capitalist or a populist-leaning capitalist or a progressive-leaning capitalist. They're all just capitalists, which means that in spite of that being the dominant economic and political flavor of the entire country and the entire planet, everybody who subscribes to capitalism must be equally complicit in whatever bad things the government is going to do. The constitutional inability for grifting shits like the Chapo boys and like Crystal Ball over there to distinguish between good and bad flavors of things that aren't perfect is insane to me. It's unironically fishhook theory, yeah. Like, they circle back around. Trust me, if you're starting to make points that sound like Crystal Ball, you're not a fucking leftist, okay? But whatever, enjoy the Patreon dollars, Crystal, Chapo boys.
The country hangs in the balance. The people who have stoked the most outrageous fears about Donald Trump have been completely wrong. His words are outrageous, of course, and certainly his administration has engaged in some truly damaging acts with consequences to people and the planet, which will reverberate for years to come. The cruelty at the border, orphaning children, opening the Alaskan wilderness to logging, accelerating the transfer of wealth to the top, and of course, outright lying about coronavirus to save the stock market.
Nice save at the last second here. That being said, it really doesn't mean shit if you're going to downplay the coup that is going on here. It really does not mean shit. You don't get to walk back on that and spend the first 3 minutes talking about how anybody who claims Trump is trying to orchestrate a coup here is wrong because Trump dumb. And then say, oh, well, of course I acknowledge that Trump is war. Crystal Ball's entire fucking career has been giving Republicans excuses to not like the Democratic Party. The election is already over, Crystal Ball. Our votes have already been tallied.
But those in the media who have terrified millions with their Donald Trump ghost stories and murder mysteries, they destroyed the ability to tell the real story.
What ghost stories and murder mysteries? What inaccurate claims is she referring to here?
Of the worst parts of the Trump administration. Not to mention that their unhinged conspiracy theories certainly turned off some of the voters that they...
What unhinged conspiracy theories? By the way, how much attention did you pay to the unhinged conspiracy theory that was Hunter Biden's laptop?
Might have won over with a different approach. Allow me to save you the suspense of what's going to happen next. Trump is going to tweet some more and do some more pretend legal actions that are laughably incompetent at best and possibly completely non-existent. He'll never fully admit defeat, which will, of course, enrage all the powers that be to no end. And
no, not the powers that be. What about the American electorate? She's so fucking smug, dude. Oh, yeah. The only people who are infuriated by Trump not conceding an election he lost are the powers that be. And you just claim the Democrats are needlessly conspiratorial? What fucking powers that be? The powers that be don't give a fuck who's president, dude, unless you actually buy into the myth that Trump is some sort of enemy of the deep state. Are you a fucking QAnoner, Crystal Ball? The people who want Donald Trump to leave and to concede are the majority of Americans who dislike him. The powers that be.
Of course, he should concede. It would be good for the country if he did, but it's also not quite the same as the military-backed coup or outright authoritarian end of democracy that we've been repeatedly promised.
Repeatedly promised, as though any one of a number of potential things Trump could do are all equally possible, and that we're all equally clowns for those things not coming true. I have, by the way, never heard anyone make the claim that Donald Trump was going to lead a military coup. I have never once heard it. Not once. I haven't heard it from liberals. I haven't heard it from leftists. The claim that I keep hearing is that he's going to delegitimize the results of the election and end up causing such a legal fucking, nightmare wasteland of a situation that it's difficult to tell who even legally is the winner, and they end up dragging it out so long that other executive or judicial plays can be made. I've never heard a person make the claim that Trump was going to literally just march the fucking military into D.C., but you can do the Ben Shapiro grift if you want to. You can do the, well, liberals will tell you that if Trump wins the second election, instantly a meteorite will strike the heartland of America, spreading wildfires across the breadth of the United States and destroying the breadbasket that is our Midlands, thus plunging the entire planet into a plague and famine, the likes of which the world has never seen. You can do this like grifty straw man bullshit if you want to. But the fact of the matter is, they said there would be a coup. There is currently a coup. We were right. You were wrong, Crystal. I understand salvaging your reputation here as Trump ends up doing everything you made fun of liberals for saying he was going to do is necessary for you. But the fact remains, we were right. This is a pathetic attempt to try to fucking restore your reputation at the end of everything that's taken place.
Instead, when the time comes, he won't admit defeat, but he will leave. And it's very likely he'll go start his new media company where he'll continue to chirp from the sidelines to millions of supporters who, by the way, will never believe that Joe Biden actually won fair and square.
Is that not a problem?
Of course, the media will do their best to convince these millions that the election results were accurate. Quite the opposite of their role last time around when they spent hours and years trying to convince the public that the results of 2016 were not really fair or just...
What? First of all, nice whataboutism. Second of all, what? When after 2016 did the entire media apparatus try to convince everybody that Hillary Clinton deserved to win? Oh, you're talking about Russiagate. Dude, does she have like a bullet in her brain? Are there like sections of her brain that are destroyed and she can only think about Russiagate now? She signaled Russiagate like 4 times in this video, even though it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I legitimately don't understand. Like, is there some sort of head trauma? Am I being ableist by mocking her fucking idiotic deference to Russiagate as repeated? She acts like a fucking QAnoner. The way she signals Russiagate sounds exactly the same way QAnoners signal to the deep state anytime they talk about any issue, regardless of how related it is. She constantly signals it. Dude, get the fuck over it. There were legitimate concerns about Russiagate. Investigations produced literally dozens of indictments and arrests. The concerns there were legitimate. You can bitch about it all you want. I'm so sorry. I know how much... Oh, Crystal Ball. I know you desperately wish Russiagate would have been a complete hoax so you could have made fun of Hillary Clinton even harder. I bet you wish it. But nope. Turns out Russiagate actually did end up procuring some pretty legitimate results. There were reasons for people to be concerned. Did the media overplay it a little bit at times? Absolutely. Does that justify you bringing it up every fucking video, every fucking minute? Anytime you have to say anything related to any issue, you have to bring up Russiagate because it's your fucking catch-all, get out of jail free card that abstains you from any fucking culpability for any of the dumb shit that you say? Oh yeah, dude, the entire fucking media apparatus sure was pushing on Russiagate hard after 2016, except what happened there? Oh, that's right. There was an actual investigation that actually required reporting on because real things were happening. The reporting was not on whether or not Hillary Clinton deserved to win the election. It was on the ongoing results of an existing investigation. These are completely incomparable. There is no legitimate years-long Trump investigation into the legitimacy of Biden's victory. It's never going to happen. These are completely incomparable, and you're a fucking idiot.
Thanks to just thanks to Russian meddling. And I will admit, it is indeed a dangerous state of affairs that the media has so destroyed their credibility over years.
I'm going to fucking kill myself, dude. She's a fucking QAnoner. This is insane. The media has not destroyed their credibility. They reported on Russiagate as Russiagate and the investigation took place. The media has always been roughly the same level of credibility. Like, this hasn't changed. If you want to talk about uncredible media, why don't you ever talk about Fox fucking News or the pundits they put on Fox News who repeatedly signal boost insane fucking lies that no other administration, that no other fucking media organization gets away with. But you won't, will you? Instead, no, you'll get on your knees and you'll throat fucking Tucker Carlson's cock just along with Sauger because you don't give a fuck about credible media. All you give a fuck about is vague conspiracy signaling of the Democrats. Ironically, worse than anything you ever accused liberals of doing with regards to Russiagate. You are so fucking conspiratorial. That's why you back off making any substantiated claims. It is infuriating watching this person.
That tens of millions would trust the evidence-free word of the ridiculous Trump over the assurances of elite media.
Yes. I will trust media over Trump. She's a fucking conspiracy theorist. I actually can't believe it, dude. She's actually suggesting with the language she used there that Trump's random fucking ramblings on Twitter are more credible than shit the media does. You do realize that media outlets actually have fact-checking protocols, right? You literally just showed Fox News turning away from a Trump press conference because the Trump press conference was completely uncredible. You literally just turned away from that. You despicable piece of shit. You showed in this video an example of the Trump administration being less credible than the media. But you'll signal other way. You'll be, oh yeah, you're a real leftist. You just want to believe in the elite media.
Failures of any of the wild conspiracies of the Trump era to actually materialize.
What wild conspiracies?
Just be one more nail in their coffin. And by that I mean all the people who got Trump the most wrong will be greatly rewarded with big raises.
Nobody got them wrong. You haven't signaled a single fucking thing that they were wrong about at all. You haven't done it once. At no point have you indicated anything the media got wrong about Trump. You made fun of them for making accurate predictions.
And primetime shows. And that is a truly scary story of Trump-era America.
That's what you need to take from this, everybody. The true terror here is the media accurately reporting on Donald Trump. All right, everyone. Now we've found out what the real threat is here. Notice how she's like, oh, yeah, and some tens of millions of Republicans will never believe the election was actually won by Joe Biden. And, oh, yeah, the president currently lies repeatedly and is going to deny the results of the election, thus creating a constitutional crisis and whatever. But yeah, dude, the media reported on Russiagate. And even though it produced dozens of credible indictments and arrests and ended up being completely substantiated, and everything that they looked at ended up producing really interesting results that completely fucking hamstrung the Trump administration because of how corrupt they were, was a complete hoax, a complete lie, nothing worth looking at there.
And so no sooner did I finish writing this radar that a memo went out from Bill Barr that everybody freaked out about. Oh my God, he's directing them to investigate election fraud and there's no proof, etc. And I mean, look, obviously he's trying to mess around to please Trump, but you go and read the memo and all it says is if there is election fraud, you can investigate it. That's it. There's no
election fraud according to who? No shit, dude. If you give the fucking department the right to start investigating these claims, and that department is being run by a partisan hack that Trump just appointed, don't you think they might investigate things that aren't actually voter fraud and come to unreliable conclusions? Like, I need you guys to understand how insane this is, okay? Imagine you're in Nazi fucking Germany, okay? And Hitler gets rid of the old Weimar Republic like state justice and appoints a new Nazi official. And then one of the members of the executive group, they give that state official the right to start investigating into the Jewishness of people. Or, I'm sorry, no, I should say investigating anti-state allegiances amongst the citizenry, okay? And all Crystal Ball has to do up here is laugh and say, just investigating anti-state allegiances. Like, we're not enemies of the state, are we? Like, Shouldn't be an issue here. I just have a different opinion on governance. You know, this shouldn't be a big deal. Like, of course, yeah. And all these crazy socialists and Jews, they're saying this is a big deal. But like, are you really telling me that a person directly appointed by Adolf Hitler isn't going to have an impartial and fair interpretation of what it means to be anti-state allied? Are you really telling me there might be some kind of potential bias there that might be used to bring about whatever, dude? Look, I'm going to end this video segment soon because this woman's infuriating. But at the end of the day, there is one piece of information here that you all need to fucking count on, okay? And it's that Krystal Ball has spent her entire career conspiracizing about the Democratic Party, shit-talking libs, promoting Republicans, promoting the narrative that Republicans have a better handle on populism and on progressive legislation than Democrats. She has fear-mongered about every little thing Democrats have done. She has signaled that the fact that they report on the Russiagate investigation means they're actually part of the deep state. She is incredibly conspiratorial. But then, when you're concerned about Barr allowing the department to start investigating claims of voter fraud, that's you being hysterical. That's you being hysterical. That's you're the one losing your shit. When you think it might actually be an issue that the current president is telling tens of millions of people, diehard believers, people who are probably going to become terrorists and opposition leaders in the future, that he's not actually losing the election and that this is a deep state coup, thus reaffirming the existence of a conspiracy theory far greater than anything even the worst interpretation of Russiagate could conceivably be, you're hysterical. That's not a big deal, you crazy lib, you little wacky liberal, you. What do you watch MSNBC? What do you watch Rachel Maddow? Oh, what's that? The media is continuing to report on an ongoing FBI investigation that has already led to the indictment of multiple Trump administration officials? QAnon is right. There's no, like, the inconsistency here is just appalling. And it only makes sense if you recognize Krystal Ball for what she actually is, apart from being a fucking moron and a grifter. What she is an anti-liberal. She's not a progressive. She's not a leftist. I don't think she's a Republican either. She's an anti-liberal. Her entire political zeitgeist, everything that motivates her decision-making, her language, her beliefs, her rhetoric, all of it is specifically oriented around being a useful tool that Republicans can throw against liberals. And that's it. That's all she is. She is an empty tool to be used by people smarter than her. I imagine somewhere inside of her brain, there might be some, just small, deficient, vestigial neurons, which lead her to believe she's actually fighting the good progressive fight. And if that is the case, if she really does think that, I would remind you that for progressives and for lefties alike, historically, an inability to distinguish between fascism and liberalism has only ever led to your downfall. Now, I think she's a grifter, but a quick reminder, and this hits with the Chapo boys too, those smug doomer dipshits who have completely resigned any possibility of engaging in good political action. The inability to distinguish between fascism and liberalism has always been one of the weak points of historical leftist activism. So cut it the fuck out, okay? You know Trump is a fucking fascist. Just because liberals say he is doesn't mean that you have to prove the libs wrong, okay? If your instinctive reaction to any given political set of events is to find out what the DNC is doing and then make sure you're not doing that, you're not a leftist. Because liberals and leftists, at least in some respects, do arrive at shared conclusions. If you're only ever fucking using an anti-lib barometer, it will lead you to abetting fascism, like you are when you lie and you say that Trump isn't one. The fact that Trump is incompetent does not make him not a fascist. The fact that Trump is stupid does not make him not a fascist. The possibility that Trump's attempt at a coup may not succeed doesn't mean it wasn't a fucking coup. What, are we only supposed to be concerned about ones we know are going to work 100%? Then what's the point of even doing anything? But that's the kicker right there. They don't want to do anything. Chapo doesn't want to do anything. They want to look down at the liberals smugly and smirk and scorn them anytime their estimations are inaccurate, because they don't fucking care. If you don't actually care about enabling positive outcomes, if you don't care about taking action, If you just want to sit there and have brunch like Chapo does, then it stops being about politics and starts being about how effectively you can distinguish your brand. And frankly, I think that's a disgusting attitude for leftists to take.